Hi everyone, my name is Tamimi, a developer advocate at Solace. Today, I'm going to show you how you can scan a Kafka cluster that is running on Amazon MSK so you can discover all your events, topics, schemas, consumer groups, and represent it in a graphical representation using the event portal. So let's go ahead and share my screen. As soon as you log into your Cloud console, you will see your welcome portal over here. What I will do is navigate to the discovery portion of the event portal. So let's go ahead and click into this. As soon as I come to the discovery section, I can run a discovery agent on my machine. So I'm using a Mac. I will run a discovery agent on a Docker image. So all I can do is just copy this, open my terminal, and paste this in the command line argument. So you can see now, after the agent is running locally, I can access the event discovery agent by visiting localhost port 8120. Let's go ahead and open this. Now that you open your runtime discovery agent, whether you're managing your own Apache Kafka cluster or using Confluent or Amazon MSK, you can use the Solace PubSub Plus discovery agent to perform a runtime discovery on your cluster. Today, I'm going to perform a runtime discovery scan on a cluster running on Amazon MSK. So let's go ahead and click this. Once you're on this page, you're prompted to fill in some information for your discovery name, your host, any authentication strategy that you use, and if you have other connectors on your MSK cluster. So what I will do, I'm going to go ahead and fill in this information. AWS MSK discovery. Now I will fill in the information and come back to you. Now that I filled in all the information needed, I'm going to go ahead and scan for all the topics and start the scan. Now that the scan is ready, we can go ahead and download the results and import it into our event portal so that we can get a graphical representation of our cluster. Let's go ahead and do this. Now back to my Solace Cloud, I'm going to dismiss this menu and click on the Add Discovery button, which will open a prompt to import the pre-scanned file. One thing I want to point out that this cluster that's running on Amazon MSK has hypothetical data about New York City taxis on analytics and some operational use cases for our application. So let's go ahead and see how this cluster looks like. What I will do is click on my discovery scan, assign it to a workspace, and create a new workspace, and I will call this NYC Taxi Demo. Okay, run synchronization audit. Once the workspace is created, we're now on the staging view, where we essentially have all the objects the discovery agent found in the Kafka cluster scanned, which includes the consumer groups, connectors, topics, and schemas. Now that the scan is staged, let's go ahead and create an application domain to map the topics, events, and consumer group to the application domain. The way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to go to the Create button over here, click on it, create an application domain. In the application domain, I'll rename it to NYC Taxi Demo. Now let's go ahead and assign our discovered analytics, consumer groups, connectors, topics, and schemas to the application domain we created. Notice at the bottom of the discovery view, we can see all the objects. So what I will do first is select all the consumer groups, set to application domain. I will select the application domain that I just created, and we're assigning these objects to my application domain. I'll do the same thing for the rest. Now that the objects are associated to the application domain, we can dive deep into the application domain. Over here, what we will see is that the event portal will automatically attempt to reverse engineer all the objects that we previously mapped and present it in a graphical representation. So all the consumer groups are presented in applications where you can see it in this shape, and the topics and events are represented in this shape. I will bring this down. You will notice from the scan that some consumer groups, like the fraud detection group and the fraud alert group, were not mapped to an application. Those discrepancies are identified by the little orange icon you see on the object, and this is resolved. We need to resolve it before committing it back to the event portal. This is resolved by creating an app. So we come here, we create an application, and that application that was just created, we will rename it to fraud detection. And I will simply map the fraud detection application into my app. I will do the same thing for the driver incentive application and the passenger detection application. Now that I've mapped the consumer group to applications, I'm ready to map the topics. You'll see here that there's an event that is not associated to any application, and this is the fraud alert event. What I will do is drag and drop it into my fraud detection application, and this event is being published by that application. So I will set it, and now we're all set. I'll take a final look into my cluster and realize that there are other events that are not mapped into applications. So we have the KPI exceeded is mapped to a passenger surge application. So I'll go ahead and do that and set it to publish. All right, so now we've associated and mapped all the objects during the scan. We are ready to commit this to our event portal. This is done by clicking the Commit to Event Portal button at the bottom. All right, now that committing is done, we're ready to explore two other features of the event portal, which is the designer and the catalog. Let's go ahead and check it out. So this is my designer. I can see my application domain that I just created from my discovery scan. If I click into it and dive into the application domain, I can see that my previously scanned cluster is now represented in the designer, where I can have access to all the events, the applications, and the schemas for every event. So I'll see here, this is the events in my cluster and the schemas that is associated per every event. Whereas the catalog feature acts as a storefront for all the application, events, and schema that we can search through any event that we have, any schema or application that we want. So let's say, for example, I want to search for what schema has the word surge on it, and it will show me that this is the schema, the driver accepted schema has the word surge in it, and these are the two events that are associated with that schema. So as a data analyst, if I want to create an application that tracks where surge happens in my application, these are the two different events that I can subscribe to that has the word surge in the schema. So let me go ahead and see where surge is there. So the surge multiplier is found in the schema over here, and I can access more information from it in my application. And that's about it. I hope this was helpful. If you have any further questions, please feel free to chat with us, and I'll be more than happy to tell you more about our product and answer any questions. Thanks.